Alright, sorry about that, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Luke. Welcome back. It's been 2 months since I made a video. I feel like AC/DC Back in Black should be played right now. But, yeah, don't want those copyright thingies popping up on my videos. Anyway, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Luke. It's been a while since I made a video. I apologize for that. Just some things with me. I should have really been trying to put the video out. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I was struggling with whether or not I was going to keep playing Wildstar there for a while. The population dropped a great deal. We had a couple things where they brought mega servers out, and it made it better for a while. But the game as a whole has regressed a little bit as far as population. But I'm hoping that turns around soon, seeing as with the new changes in Drop 3 that came out, the awaited changes coming in Drop 4, hopefully we'll bring some people back. And that's my hope, at least. I'm still enjoying the game. It's just more enjoyable when there's more people to enjoy the game with you. So, anyway, what we're going to do in this video, we're going to talk about Esper DPS. We're going to talk 2 builds that at least right now seem to be able to be used in raids properly. One's going to be, of course, a debuff build, and one's going to be more or less straight up DPS melt phases. So, and as always, if you do miss the stream for whatever reason, I will be uploading the video to YouTube on my account. So check it out. We'll have annotations so you don't have to listen to my voice as much. If you want to look for stats, or runes, or build, or amps, you can do that and totally ignore me. So, anyway, guys, and let's talk about stat priorities while we got our stat window character sheet up. So the changes prior to, this is how it was prior to Drop 3, and this is how it is after Drop 3. It appears that, especially when you were getting toward the end game, before Drop 3 came out, you pretty much stacked AP, assault power, through the roof. And that was king, so to speak. And it makes sense. I mean, the more assault power you had, the better damage you did, which in turn makes your DPS go up. So why not? Why stock anything else? So that's kind of how it was. Now it's a little different. They changed the scaling a little bit. They also made the milestones a little bigger for us. All to make it to where you kind of have to make a choice between AP and Moxie. Right now, at least until you hit 1680 Moxie, I would highly suggest stacking that. But however, after that, it's actually better to do AP. See, I'm not entirely 100% sure about this, and a lot of Espers that I talk to still kind of feel the way I do, that you should probably stack AP after your 1680 Moxie milestone. So it's kind of one of those things where it's pretty close. So what I've been kind of doing is, since it takes so much Moxie now, I mean, prior to Drop 3, I was like, I don't know, 1800, probably more Moxie. That's how much Moxie I had. After the changes, they normalized the amount of AP on weapons and whatnot. They changed the way it scaled Moxie, that is. So they're pretty close to one another after 1680. But what I've been trying to do is get a little bit more than 1680 Moxie, and then prioritizing other stats. Um, for like a general idea out there, I would stack Moxie first, then AP, crit, and then followed very closely by strike through or brutality, for that matter. That's basically the stat priorities in a nutshell. If something changes, I'll for sure come back and make another video and try to clarify that a little better. But for right now, that's where I see it being. So that's the stat priorities. Let's talk real quick about runes. So it appears that not much has changed with the runes sets that you go for. You still want to get 12 of 12 Spellweaver as soon as possible. I'm a bad Esper, that's why I have 9 of 12 instead of 12 of 12. Then after that, you would probably want to go towards Assassin. Another set that was mentioned, thanks Rune for the heads up and all the info going into this video. We were kind of talking about Magic Fire Starter stat. However, it is extremely expensive, and I don't really know how beneficial it is overall. For new Espers going into a raid, I would highly suggest at least getting 12 of 12 Spellweaver as soon as possible, because that's going to give you the best damage boost, so to speak. Assassin gives AP, so it is an increase. However, not too sure how much of an increase, but it's just something else to go after. Since with the changes to runes, you can get stuff from dungeons that allows you to add runes to your runes, to your weapons and armor and whatnot. So I mean, you see here I have 4 on this one, 4 runes. I could probably get 1 more on that and get 5. Yeah, here we go. Here's a good example. See, I've gotten all 5 on this particular piece of armor. I actually got this from GA, but as the rune slots go up on all your pieces of armor, it'll become a little bit more viable to get these other rune sets. But for again, my biggest suggestion for new Espers going into raids and DPSing, as far as runes are concerned, is to get 12 of 12 Spellweaver. That's where it's at. And if you can get 4 of 12 Assassin, fine. If you can get 8 of 12, whatever, fine. It's all going to be an increase the way I see it. So that pretty much covers stat priorities and runes. So I'm going to close this out and we're going to go straight into build. And talk a little bit about abilities. The first build I'm going to talk about is what I call the Spectral Swarm Mindburst build. Now, what makes this build super strong is making sure that you, of course, have all your ability points to be able to get 3 tier 8s. Okay. Telekinetic Strike, nothing special about it. That's the telegraph, line telegraph, nothing special. That has not changed. They lowered the damage output that this does slightly, so it's no longer as spammable as an ability as it used to be. It's still good, but it's not as spammable. They made basically other abilities usable. So it made the priority system that we used to talk about a little more complicated, but very rewarding for players who are able to do it. I'm still struggling a little bit with it, but this build more or less gives you the most DPS right now, you know, without a doubt. So, okay, of course it's going to have telekinetic strike. We talked about that. Mind burst. Nothing really has changed as far as tiers, so I don't really want to talk too much about it, other than it is a finisher. You always want to have 5 side points when you use this ability to maximize your damage. That's, you know, pretty obvious, but it's just, you know, throwing it out there. I still use concentrated blades. This is where the changes for me started with drop 3. I used to tier 8 this with Mind Burst and Telekinetic Strike. However, the reason I don't tier it anymore is because of this wonderful ability, Spectral Swarm. Basically, when you use it, I'll kind of show you. You get little dudes, and they're going crazy on that target dummy now. Okay, so they're phantoms that spawn, and you notice, like, as soon as they die, or as soon as they, yeah, there you go, it's still going off. Oh no, that's my figment. Never mind. So basically, it conjures these 3 phantoms, and they deal magic damage every 1.25 seconds for 10 seconds, and it does generate a side point. The tier 4 is a plus because it gives you lifesteal, and since we're dropping bolster out of our build now, which I'll talk about in a minute, that's just an added bonus, really. The tier 4 having 12% lifesteal. Okay. The tier 8's where it's at, though, really and truly, because, you know, on death it basically does AoE damage. Mine, it says 1528 magic damage to 5 nearby foes. So, you know, this is one of those abilities that you pop and forget it. Keep it off cooldown whenever you can. You pretty much can pop it any time as long as you're not casting Telekinetic Strike. It's pretty much off the global cooldown. So, it's pretty nice to have that kind of ability around. You know, another ability they have brought into play that I never used, well, probably since closed beta, was Reap. Reap is now one of those, hey Habu. Reap is one of those abilities that basically, when you're above 2 side points, it's a instant cast. Okay, so it's just added damage. Again, another ability that you would use to on cooldown every chance you can get. Just keep it off cooldown as much as you can. So these 2 abilities basically you keep off cooldown. Mind Burst at 5 side points. Otherwise, keep your Telekinetic Strike going. That's basically the build in a nutshell as far as abilities go. Now, the reason I took Bolster off my ability, that's one question that's been popping up a lot here lately. Now, Bolster, the reason we had it on our bar to begin with was to generate side points. That was the main reason. The side, you know, restoring health or whatever, that's cool and all, but it's not doing damage. Okay? With the changes to the new abilities like Reap and Haunt, like we'll talk about later, Spectral Swarm, they made it to where, you know, these abilities were generating side points for you still and doing damage. Okay? So yes, you do still get 2 bolster charges, which equates to 2 side point charges, but it's not damage. Okay? So it's basically, you know, 2 global cooldowns that it has. It's not much of a global cooldown, but it is one nonetheless, just to get health and 2 side points. Whereas, you know, I could pop a Spectral Swarm, I get 1 psi point. It's off the global cooldown. Reap doesn't give you psi points, but it's extra damage. You know, and I still have my blades to generate psi points as well as my telekinetic strike. So I get plenty of builders. In other words, you know, so there's really no reason to have bolster on my bar. The other reason why I took bolster off my bar was so I could keep my crush and I could keep my incapacitate to have 2 interrupts to contribute to the raid or dungeon or what have you. Now utility, you know, this more or less, this last projected spirit is what I have right now. Can change based off of what the encounter, what you need to bring to the encounter. You know, whether it be a CC break with fade out, a restraint to sort of root enemies. Wouldn't really suggest shockwave, but if you did need another interrupt, it's not bad. You just have to be in melee range. So, Garth Assist, Cleanse, very rarely I've used it, except to help out healers and whatnot with the debuffs that bosses might put on you. But for the most part, that covers the first build. I guess while I'm here, I'll go ahead and switch over to the second build, which is not as good, mind you, as far as damage is concerned. But in Rage, it's still worthwhile running this build to get the strike through buff that Storm gives everyone, as well as the magic debuff that Haunt gives. So there's really not a whole lot that I'm going to talk about with this build other than that a couple notes. First off, Storm is still, like I was saying, applies that weekend, which allows people in your raid who are not strike through capped to prioritize other stats and still do pretty damn good damage to that target. It's still a dot, it still ticks over time. One thing to note with this ability, I know we're not talking about amps, but the reason this build is not as strong as the Spectral Swarm Mindburst build is simply because there's a lot of bugged amps with Storm right now. So it's not as strong because of that. In fact, it's one of the most primary amps that we have, and that is the power. You know, landing a critical hit increases your moxie about 16%. So that's a pretty hefty amount to have that bug not, you know, to not have that amp rather pop up and do some damage, you know, extra damage with this ability. 1 sec, I'm going to get some drink of coffee and we'll keep going. Ah, much better. Okay. So we talked about Storm. Telekinetic Strike hasn't changed much. Talked about the reduced amount of damage it does now. However, you can use it on the move, so that's pretty cool. So the only other ability that I really wanted to talk about, I kept Reap in this ability, obviously because it offers more magic damage, but is Haunt. Okay, the tier 8 for Haunt right now is pretty strong. It's an instant cast when you're above 2 psi points. So basically, in this build, what I do is I get around 4 psi points, and I pop Haunt and Reap at the same time, so they're both on cooldown. While keeping my Storm up, 5 psi points of course, and otherwise my fillers are Concentrated Blade and Telekinetic Strike. So yeah, I was about to talk about something else, but I was just decided against it. Now Nothing really changed here. I've already talked about the reasons why I don't have bolster in my builds anymore. It's not a bad ability, like I say. It's just our LAS, limited action set, is so crowded right now with abilities that I had to prioritize damage over, possible side points per minute, if you will. So, basically that covers what I was really wanting to talk about with the abilities and the two builds. So, in summary, we had basically a Spectral Swarm Mind Merge build. The pluses and minuses of that ability, of that build rather, is that it does better DPS overall, much better than this build I currently have up, due to the fact that the power amp is bugged on Storm. Okay, I think this ability setup will work once they debug that bug. Yeah, I think it will, because prior to drop 3, really and truly, just neck and neck, with the other Esper that was in our raid, Renoko. A lot of times he would kick my ass because he's just better and more experienced at the Esper than I am. But yeah, he pretty much kept it even between me and him. It was a lot of fun talking with him about all this stuff and trying to get things straight. So, that was the builds. Let's talk a little bit about amps. Nothing much has changed other than the fact that you have to really pick up Spectral Swarm now. I guess I can talk about this because I haven't talked about it in previous videos, but Figment is very small amount of DPS gained. They pretty much nerfed this a while back, and I forgot to talk about that, so my bad. Yo, don't beat me up too much. But you basically take all your strike through, all your assault power amps, all your tier 2s are still excellent. A couple people I've talked to in the forums and kind of read up on were thinking about dropping True Sight in favor of more utility, say more crit severity or better armor pierce. But I'm still about 4 points off amp points from maxing. So those are probably the two areas I will put points in next. I want to talk about, let's see, this tier 3 and assault tree quick response, and the reason I don't go with it. Okay. Now it says landing a critical hit with a finisher grants a 100% chance to reduce your cooldowns by 45%. This can only occur every 15 seconds. Okay, so on paper it looks pretty damn good, but for the most part, if we take this amp, it overcomplicates our priority system a lot. I mean, a whole hell of a lot. It makes it to where our, and it really doesn't benefit anything all that much. I mean, it doesn't reduce cooldown on our concentrated blades to charge, it does reduce the cooldown on Haunt and Reap, but really, when you look at the cooldown, 7 seconds, it's not that much of a benefit. Okay, and really, sorry about that. Really, the reason I don't take it is, like I said, I mean, it just overcomplicates the priority much more than it needs to be. Not to mention, it also takes 6 amp points as well to get it. Some people might argue, well, if that's the case with this one, why'd you take Figment? Well, Figment increases my DPS, whereas this one, it doesn't really show. In the long run, it doesn't show. Like, the only thing it might benefit, and you might see a little benefit from it, is in our CCs, which are still extremely long as far as cooldowns are concerned. But again, I don't think that warrants us using 6 amp points just to get it. Another one, let's see, people keep talking about this tactician amp, okay, and how standing still increases your magic damage dealt by 4%, okay? Here's the thing, 4% is not that fucking much. You know, and standing still in this game usually means you're dead, okay? There's just so many mechanics in this game that require you to move. Kurlak's a good event. I tell you what, go Google Kurlak, and I guarantee you, if you find an Esper standing still and living, I'll be proved wrong, you know. But for the most part, it's a very high movement fight. You know, X89 you could probably stand still, you know, unless you get the bombs on you or what have you, and have to move. But really and truly, I don't see a lot of benefit. And the reason people take this amp in the first place is to get to bingo, because they think it's so awesome. But there's one thing about this I still don't like. And I have a couple espers that are in agreement with me as well with this, is that it's still unpredictable, even though it's a 100% chance now to generate one side point. But it makes the priority more difficult to a situation that doesn't need more difficulty in the first place. Yeah, it gives you one extra amp point when you critical hit on your builder. But here's the thing. Unless you take this other amp that I'm fixing to talk about, Mental Overflow, you're wasting that extra amp. Side point, rather. Excuse me. And I guess in turn wasting that amp altogether. Basically what Mental Overflow does is, when you get to full stacks, I'll kind of show it to you real quick. You get this little orb that spawns to the left of you, okay? So I'll show you, hold on. There it is, you see it? So that's pretty convenient. So like when I have my finisher finished, you know, or whatever, I can just slide over to my left, pick it up, and keep going. The cool thing about this too is that, you know, if you keep building them up, like watch, you'll just see it. 1, 2, 3. It adds more damage, more side points per minute that you can gain, and you know that's pretty nice to have. So anyway, where I was going with that. In other words, if you don't have that amp, this amp is totally useless. And as you can see, I only have 4 more amp points available once I get them. So I'm definitely not going to be able to get both of these. Okay? Because my next 4 points would have to go into Tactician, and then I'd have to pull 6 points out my ass to get that one. Okay? Thank you, Habu. He's still going. I was surprised, dude. He's sticking with me over there. Hadn't put him to sleep yet. Alright, so basically there's nothing more to really talk about as far as amps are concerned. This setup will work just as good with the Spectral Storm build as well as the Haunt Storm build. So I pretty much kept this as my amp setup. Again, my plans are when I get my 4 side points to either go down Armor Pierce or probably go down Critical Hit Severity. I don't see, I guess I probably will test Tactician a little bit more when I do get my final 4 points, but I still don't see it as being a good enough ability to take at this point. So, alright, I guess we're at the end of the video now. Appreciate you guys watching and hanging with me. I tried to make it as short as I could and as simple as I could, but that's just how it goes sometimes with these videos. If for people who have watched me in the past, I kind of get caught up in it, and I have a lot of fun with it. Like I said, it's been a while since I made one, and I really appreciate people tuning in. We will see you next time. Maybe either. Pretty good one. We will see you next time. I want to cover the healing Esper as well, even though not much has changed there. And I also really want to cover some tanking warrior stuff, because I really like the changes they did there. But anyway, we'll see you guys next time. You have a good day. Peace out, bitches! Oh yeah, wait. Oh, we gotta do this. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. Hold on. Gotta do it. Hold on. Oh yeah! And Habu's in the background. It's a naked monkey with a squirt on his head. Anyway, out guys. Y'all take it easy. Have a good day.